Thank you for watching the SlatRock channel. Hey, have you ever heard about Jonathan Good? No, he's not your history professor, nor is he the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. This man likes to steal championship titles, fight people with a hot dog cart. He likes to wrestle in jeans and a tank top. And of course, I'm talking about none other than WWE's lunatic fringe Dean Ambrose. Now, prior to WWE, he was part of many independent promotions. It was because of his unrelenting will to succeed in this business that he transitioned from the independents onto a much grander scale. Growth and development in Good's career certainly saw its ups and downs. Much like anyone else's career that undergoes a change, Good's transitions from promotion to promotion throughout his career led him to go in a number of different directions. So today, we present you 18 things you may not know about Dean Ambrose. Number 18. Feud with Seth Rollins. During his time down in Florida Championship Wrestling, Ambrose challenged Seth Rollins. Ambrose and Rollins had their first match for the FCW 15 Championship in a 15-minute Iron Man match on the August 14 episode of FCW television. The match ended in a draw with neither man scoring a fall, so Rollins retained his title. A subsequent 20-minute rematch for the title 2 weeks later resulted in a similar 0-0 draw. A second 30-minute rematch for the title on the September 18th episode of FCW television went to a time limit 2-2 draw, and the match was sent into sudden death rules, where Rollins scored a pinfall to win the match 3-2. Dean would return on episode 157 to finally gain the edge over Seth Rollins. Number 17. The Crew Association. During his time in Heartland Wrestling Association, Ambrose formed a faction of wrestlers. He named it The Crew. Sami Callihan was among the smallest members of the group. By today's account, Callahan's name may not sound familiar to fans. However, if we were to call him Solomon Crow, then fans of NXT would unquestionably know who we are talking about. Until recently, Callihan was a member of the NXT roster until asking for and being granted his release. Number 16. Brief time in Ring of Honor. Even though Dean Ambrose earned a great deal of notoriety competing for promotions such as CZW, Dragon Gate USA, and HWA, there was another prominent promotion that Ambrose competed in that is also highly regarded amongst wrestling fans. Fighting under his ring name, Moxley, he competed in only 2 matches in Ring of Honor in 2007. On February 23rd, Moxley teamed with Alex Payne in a losing effort against Bobby Dempsey and Rhett Titus in a dark match. And on June 22nd, Moxley lost to Mitch Franklin, also in a dark match. Number 15. Influence of Bret the Hitman Hart. Dean Ambrose considers Bret Hart his all-time favorite wrestler. In one of his interviews, he said that Bret was his childhood hero. He also said that Bret's tactical and technical approach in the ring allowed for the Hitman to overcome the odds against adversaries that were often bigger than he was. These are qualities that Ambrose carries with him in the ring today. While having idolized Bret isn't necessarily a bad thing, it certainly doesn't seem fitting for the Ambrose character to have it publicized. Number 14. Dropped out of high school. Ambrose's dedication to the craft early in life meant he was committing himself completely to wrestling. He saw a flyer promoting an HWA show in a flea market in Cincinnati that he eventually went to. The flyer was also promoting an ad for Les Thatcher's wrestling camp. After committing to working under Thatcher, Ambrose made the conscious decision to drop out of high school after more than a year of training. His decision to leave education behind meant that he was clearly looking ahead to opportunities that may have been waiting for him in wrestling. Number 13. Abnormal childhood. At times, we tend to dream in order to escape the harsh realities of life. For Ambrose, wrestling provided him that same escape from life. He made a strong note in his documentary saying, "There was nothing else. There was this crappy real world and the awesome world of wrestling, which was so much better." While his life circumstances forced him to have to think for himself, they also put him in troubling and dangerous situations. Life was a struggle for him as he would have to sell drugs in order to prevent himself from not being beaten up. He would have fights provoked with him even while keeping to himself and walking down the streets of Cincinnati. When each day seemed like a struggle to live, Ambrose needed an outlet. He found that outlet in wrestling. Reality was often a cruel place to be for the young Ambrose, and he could take solace knowing that wrestling provided him with the hope he would need. Number 12. Popcorn Guy. As we mentioned earlier, Dean began working for Les Thatcher at the Heartland Wrestling Association, or HWA, as a teenager. He sold popcorn and set up the ring before beginning to train at the age of 18. Thatcher refused to train Good until he was 18 years old. Number 11. Lunatic Fringe, his real-life character. When we see Dean Ambrose doing crazy and unpredictable things, we need to keep in mind that it is art imitating life. He had come from a life of crime and poverty to be where he is today. He came from a very run-down section of Cincinnati, Ohio that was pretty much government housing. The buildings were all torn up, and to say he felt like garbage would be an understatement. It was during this time where he had to look out for himself and really had to do what he needed in order to survive. He overcame obstacles in life in order to achieve in the ring. We don't often realize someone's struggles until we've walked a mile in their shoes. For Ambrose, life is imitating art. Number 10, switch off WWE, switch on movies. In the heat of the feud between Ambrose and Rollins, Ambrose was written off the script for nearly a month of their program. There was so much heat between the two, and Ambrose's character was being flushed out and began to reach its peak during his feud with Rollins. The battles between the two during their time in FCW pale in comparison to their battles on the main roster. As part of an angle where Rollins curb-stomped Ambrose's head through cinder blocks, Ambrose was written off as part of an injury angle, allowing him time to film the WWE Films movie 12 Rounds 3. It's a huge departure from the guy who made it seem like he's willing to do anything to anyone. Ambrose can take direction, but it's better left out as he's the guy that won't conform. Number 9, accolades. The wrestling publication Pro Wrestling Illustrated has long been heralded for its annual rankings and recognition for those that are a part of it. Dean Ambrose won Feud of the Year 2014 versus Seth Rollins, Most Popular Wrestler of the Year 2014 and 2015, and he ranked 13 of the top 500 singles wrestlers in the PWI 500 in 2015. Number 8, United States Champion for 351 days. It seems like a distant memory because his reign as champion wasn't bad, but it really wasn't all that good either. On May 19th, 2013, Dean Ambrose defeated Kofi Kingston to capture the WWE United States Championship. He is the longest reigning one-time United States champion. He held the title for 351 days, 14 days shy of a full year, as he was defeated by Sheamus on May 5th, 2014 in a 20-man battle royal. What was also interesting about Ambrose's reign is that he was never pinned, disqualified, or made to submit during this reign. Number 7, feud with Mick Foley. During the WrestleMania 28 Fan Access, Ambrose had a public confrontation with WWE Hall of Famer and hardcore legend Mick Foley. It was during this confrontation where Ambrose claimed that Foley had to be held accountable for, quote, leading a generation astray. Both Ambrose and Foley continued their jabs at one another via Twitter. Ambrose initially tweeted, #WWE likes to pretend Mick Foley never existed. WWE is still apologizing for him by sterilizing the product. #Raw. Following Ambrose's tweet, Foley responded, I had a slight problem at SmackDown, so I took care of it. I didn't ask WWE to send him home, but I'm glad they did. Sayonara, scumbag. Whether the confrontation was a work or not, it certainly didn't help Ambrose's cause at the time. It's an event that the promoter would have rather preferred was kept on the down low. Number 6, championships and accomplishments. As mentioned earlier, Dean Ambrose worked in many promotions before arriving in WWE. He was a 2-time CZW World Heavyweight Champion, 1-time FIP World Heavyweight Champion, 3-time HWA Heavyweight Champion, 5-time HWA Tag Team Champion, 1-time IPW World Heavyweight Champion, 1-time PW Mid-American Champion, 1-time IWA World Tag Team Champion, and 1-time WXW World Tag Team Champion. Number 5, Mr. Good's love interest. Ambrose's personal life has been quite public. When rumors initially surfaced that Ambrose was dating WWE interviewer Renee Young, more would pry and provoke a response about it. The relationship is kept off-screen as the company doesn't recognize it in any storylines. However, when Renee is interviewing Ambrose, fans are quick to want to see if there is any subtle flirting taking place between the two. The relationship has been kept off-screen, but the rumor mill doesn't prevent multiple questions of when their off-screen courtship will turn into an on-screen storyline. Number 4, 2006 run with WWE. January 15, 2006, Jon teamed with Brad Taylor to take on then WWE Tag Team Champions M&M on Velocity. Returning back to HWA to then focus on his singles career, Jon began to build his way up towards the HWA Heavyweight Championship. All the while still focusing on expanding, Jon would once again return to the WWE stage to team up with his former roommate, Dick Rick, to take on the monstrous Big Show on Heat's May 1, 2006 episode. Jon would once again return to work for WWE, this time in a singles match against Val Venus on the January 15, 2007 episode of Heat. Number 3, support from the Bushwacker Luke. At one point in his career, Dean wanted to join IWA, the International Wrestling Association. Hearing of Chet Jablonski's career skyrocketing after his tenure in Puerto Rico, Jon sent a tape to obtain an opportunity. Months after sending it out, Jon would get the call from Bushwacker Luke of WWF fame, who extended an offer for Jon to become part of a tag team in IWA Puerto Rico. Coming down immediately, Jon was slotted into a team with Haid Vanson to create the British Militia. Number 2, missed WWE opportunity in 2007. In early January of 2007, he grabbed an opportunity to work one night with WWE. He was in a singles match against Val Venus on Heat. At this time, he was seriously thinking of getting into the WWE full-time. He was informed to bulk up and gain 20 to 30 pounds by the Office of WWE's Talent Relations. After gaining the much-needed weight, another stroke of bad luck hit as the guy from Talent Relations got himself into an illegal steroid case and his ties with the company cut off. It was another painful setback. Somehow, finally, in 2011, the online wrestling world was buzzing with headlines. Independent sensation Jon Moxley has signed a developmental deal with the WWE and was granted his release from Dragon Gate USA, finishing up his independent dates and performing his final match against Austin Aries at Evolve 7 on April 9, 2011. Jon Moxley headed down to Florida, where he was given the name Dean Ambrose. Number 1. PreShield Dean Ambrose wrestled Daniel Bryan at a WWE house show in 2011. Months before Dean Ambrose broke out in WWE as a terrorizing member of the Shield, alongside Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, the Cincinnati, Ohio native was working non-televised matches before fans. Check out this rare video of Ambrose as a developmental talent wrestling Daniel Bryan at a WWE house show in Fort Myers, Florida on December 16, 2011. Thanks for watching. Don't forget you can hit that like button right below the video if you like this. You can subscribe to this channel if you want more videos just like this one, and you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+.